what I want to answer is why. Why do I think that confidence is more important than time or time management? Because time management is really, really important, and the overall time spent on your learning is also very important. The more the better, yeah, but not allocated to anything. Yeah, you need to allocate wisely. But why do I think confidence is more important? Well, I think so because confidence, in terms of confidence that you can do it, the belief that you have deep down that you can become a confident speaker and a fluent speaker, that's the very basis of you learning anything at all. It actually is. It might sound a little stupid or a little simple, but it is actually the way it is. Because we tend to get what we believe, right? We say what we want, but at the end of the day, we get the thing that we believe about ourselves. And if we think that we are too old, not talented enough, or we never understood grammar, we are bad with languages, all these kind of labels that we might have gathered, right, through our language learning career, maybe already very early at school, then it's going to be very difficult for us to actually take the right kind of steps in the right kind of mindset so that we can be learning efficiently and actually achieve fluency in a relatively short time on top of that. So that's why I think that this mindset component really is the most important. And I just want to stress this thing that confidence has different layers, and we might think of different things when we say confidence. I have a deepening lesson on this in Dare to Speak Out in Norwegian because it is a biggish topic. But the basis of the issue is that if you, for example, tell everybody how good you are, things like that, yeah, that's what we sometimes think of as confidence. You might not be confident at all deep down, right? That's just something people do. Somebody boasts a lot about their car or their abilities, things like that. That's not what I mean when I say confident. Yeah. By confident, a confident speaker, I mean somebody who believes that the interaction will end up the way they need it to end up, and a person who believes in their abilities. So, not necessarily boasting about them or telling everybody how good we are. That's not such a good thing to do, I think, in general. But deep down, we feel and we know that, yes, of course, I will learn to speak Norwegian in my due time, in my due course. And to get this feeling, you might have a look at other areas of your life where you do have this confidence, something you are naturally good at, and where you actually never doubted that you can get there. Maybe you are good at cooking, maybe you are good at negotiating, maybe you are good at maths, maybe you are good at singing or storytelling or playing an instrument, right? So whatever your thing might be, think of it if you were to learn a new subskill, for example, that falls under this umbrella of the thing that you're good at, yeah, where you think of yourself as the kind of person who can do this easily. So if you were to learn a new subskill, you might maybe know that it's going to take some time, that you might put in some effort, that you will have to look at the strategies and you will have to practice and everything, but you never doubt that you will succeed, right? Because you already know that you are good at this. But really, we get good at the thing that we practice a lot, right? Sometimes we have this pull to some things, and then we practice them a lot, and then we get even better. And some other things we're like, I don't know, I'm not really good at that, right? And obviously, we have these natural pulls. Maybe that's what we might call talents in a way. Some things come easily to us, and some things we need to maybe get over a little hill at the beginning before we kind of gain more confidence and it starts running smoothly. But it is possible, and if we do it a lot, we will get better. And we must believe it at the beginning. So that's the kind of confidence that I'm primarily talking about. And it's really, really important, because if we don't nourish this, if we don't believe that we can do it, then we can have the best time management in the world. but we won't be doing the right kind of thing with our time, and we won't have the most open mind, and we won't be absorbing and learning so efficiently. So if we succeed in getting fluent, it will cost us much more energy and much more time if we don't believe in ourselves. Yeah. And typically the success, is waiting around the corner for many years when we don't believe it, really. So that's why this is so, so important. One more thing I want to say here is the affective filter, as in affection, as in emotions. This is a concept coined by the linguist Stephen Krashen, who studied language acquisition and language learning a lot. And what this theory says, and there is a lot of research done on this too, is that whenever we are stressed, anxious, bored, in these negative emotions, in negative affect, then we are blocking learning, we are blocking acquisition of the material. So if you are sitting in a Norwegian class thinking, I will never be able to do this is not for me, I'm too old, everybody else is getting it and I'm not getting it, right? Something is wrong with me. Then this kind of thinking, this kind of attitude that you are in, that is the main reason why you aren't learning, right? And I want to point out that here belongs also, for example, boredom or disliking your teacher or disliking the content matter that you have. If you have this textbook that's full of topics from social studies and you're like, meh, again, that this is actually blocking your learning. And obviously, we have to make compromises and we sometimes need to pull through a little bit, but pulling through and pushing through this thing that we don't like in the first place and that makes us miserable and that makes us doubt ourselves, having this as the basic strategy, that's really, really bad, because that means that you are all the time working against something and it influences your mindset in a negative way. And your mindset, if you get anxious about your results or uncomfortable or feel awkward or anything like that, stress, then it blocks you. So you might be able to answer your teacher's questions, for example, but you won't remember that much and it won't be available for you when you need it. And of course, we are talking on a scale, right? So it's not 100 or 0, it's always somewhere in between. But the more stressed you get, the more you doubt yourself and don't believe that you can get it. This generates anxiety, like this subtle kind of anxiety. And that's the reason why you will not get there, or you will maybe get there, but later, and it will cost you more, yeah, depending on the degree. So this is why confidence, the type of confidence that you can get there, is so, so important. Next thing I want to have a look at is how to boost your confidence, because this is hard, isn't it? If you have a confidence issue, then you know that it's not like saying to yourself, be confident starting now. It's not the way it works. But for me, what really, really helped me was, number one, realizing these layers, that it's not about boasting about your results, or it's not about feeling good about the thing you just said in class, because we are not stupid, right? We think that we are so stupid we can learn Norwegian, but we are not stupid. We know really, really well if the thing we said was right or wasn't. We can hear it when it's off, and we can hear it when it's not what we want it to be, and we're like, So you don't need to be confident in terms of, wow, this was really good, I did really well, because you can hear if you did well or not. You will start doing better and better, and then this kind of confidence will kick in when you hear yourself doing well. But at the beginning, obviously, if you are a beginner, you are not going to be that happy with your production. That's a natural thing, right? That's normal, because when we start doing something, we can do it properly. That's just normal. But we can be confident that it's possible, like I was talking about. Yeah, I don't doubt that I can get there if I do the right thing. And that's the kind of confidence we have to nourish. So realizing this difference Because people sometimes tell me, how can I be confident when I put the sentence together? It takes me half a minute and then I realize I made two mistakes. Number one, everybody makes mistakes when they start speaking a new language, right? So we can be working on this attitude as well, that, done is better than perfect. We actually did it, we pushed through, and who can judge you? Maybe the person who never said anything, right? Then you don't get anything wrong. So that's the one thing. But the second thing is, it's not about this. It's about the original belief that you will get there. So separating these layers for me is very liberating, because then I can be confident without feeling like a fraud in a way, right? Because it's about something else. It's not about my result at this point of time. And another thing that really, really helps me is to showing past evidence to my brain, because my brain is always like, no, you're not good enough, na 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 na, right? Maybe you know this song. But if I show my brain that, look, we have done this before and it went well, right? If I remember some success stories in a way from the past, I use this when I need to get maybe through an interview. And I'm like, oh no, I don't want to go to an interview. Nobody will want to hire me, la 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 la, right? But then I tell myself, but you know what? You went to these other interviews and actually it went quite well, you know? And I show the story from the past to my present anxious self. And I'm like, okay, then I think I can make it because I made all these other things. Yeah. With languages, maybe you don't believe in yourself in terms of languages, but you believed in yourself in terms of something else. Maybe you learned a difficult sport, maybe you learned a really complicated recipe, things you thought were difficult, but you believed and you did it, and it was difficult, but you got through and you did it. And you're like, aha, so I made it. That means I can make it here as well with Norwegian. So for me, this really helps. And actually, both of these things, that's working on your mindset, on your attitude, right? On your beliefs. And it takes time. It's not like you decide today and it's in place tomorrow, but you can start thinking like this and maybe stop if you're getting anxious, if you're starting to blame yourself, I can never do this. Stop there and be like, this thing right here is sabotaging me. This is sabotaging my Norwegian. And this is something we learned in the past, probably, to be thinking in that way. And it's not good for us. So you can be like, okay, here it is. What can I do? And maybe remind yourself of that success story with something in Norwegian, maybe like a minor thing that you managed, or some other things like cooking, sports at your workplace, whatever it might be, right? And it really helps to hack your thinking and your emotion around this. Last point here that I wanted to talk about is if believing in yourself is enough, if the rest will just come, if you just believe that you can do it. I'm not sure if I should say yes or no, but I'm gonna say no to be a little bit more realistic. Because, in a way, yes, because when you believe that this is possible and you really want it, then you will search for the ways and you will find them. But it's a little simplistic answer to address the whole topic. So I would say, if you just sat there and believed, obviously nothing is gonna fix itself, right? But if you start with this belief that you can, that this is for you, then you will also be more confident. It will make you more confident as a language learner, and you will take more agency and decide for yourself. Because I see this very often, that students pay for a course, maybe, and they sit at the course and they just take everything. Whatever is there in the textbook must be really important. Whatever the teacher says must be really important. If they tell me do this and I hate it, there must be something wrong with me, right? But consider this, there might come another teacher as a vikar when your regular teacher is sick, and they might tell you something different, right? And it might be contradictory to what your other teacher told you, because there are different theories out there. Some teachers studied 20 years ago, some teachers studied last year, right? This is all developing. Not everybody's implementing everything. There are teachers who have their opinions, even though the research says something else, right? There are teachers who teach Norwegian, but they don't speak any other language to that level. So they haven't learned any other language, or they have maybe learned English as kids, but they never reflected around how they learned it, right? So the thing your teacher tells you might and might not be true, and it might and might not be good for you in particular. And that goes for the things I tell you as well, right? I'm trying to update myself, and I'm trying to give you my best advice based on my own experience as a language learner and the experience of my students. But still, I might make a mistake, or I might tell you something that's really, really, really good for me, but it's making you miserable, right? And if you have this belief that you can do it, and you also know that this is your task and your responsibility, right? This is your power. Your learning is your power and it's your project, then you will be in a much better position to also consider if the thing your teacher is offering you is good for you or not. And I'm not talking about things like, okay, I need to get ready for this test, and my teacher tells me, write this text and I'll give you feedback. And you're like, I don't feel like writing that text, right? That's something a little different. Obviously, if you want to pass that particular exam, you need to write that text and get that feedback, even though you don't feel like it. But in general, right, if your teacher, for example, advises a technique that makes you really, really miserable, and I don't mean like stepping out of your comfort zone, that's a good thing, but something that makes you feel worse about your abilities, for example, don't do it then. Yeah, it's okay. You are paying for the course and you can pick and choose in a way. So, this is something that also comes with this confidence. Because when I take language classes, and obviously I'm a professional, so it's a little different thing, but I have taken language classes in the past, trying to, for example, learn a little French and things like that, right? I knew what I was looking for. I didn't want any fancy gamifications, things like that. I wanted to get my questions answered mostly. But if the teacher gave me something and I hated it internally, it was turning me off, I was feeling worse about myself after, or it was overwhelming me, I just gently told my teacher if it was a one-on-one class or if it was in a language school, I would just be like, okay, here comes this activity. I'll just kind of participate, not to make any big waves, but I'll use it in my own way. I don't have to think that just because I suck at this activity, because I hate it, means that I cannot learn it, because it doesn't depend on that one activity. So that would be the answer to the question if mindset is enough. Yeah, it's obviously not. And managing your time and using enough time, for example, on Norwegian listening is very, very important too. But if you start with the wrong mindset, you're essentially torturing yourself and wasting your precious time. So that's why it's so, so important.